When you think about soft costs for a silent cost within a business, and then you think about an accountability partner and the unreliability of one in the physical world because they come, and they go well when they come, and they go the virtual guide that I created, can be their virtual carry me through accountability partner. Wouldn't you suggest I'm saying I've been a messenger guide? I put exercises out there. I show them what I do, but I don't tell them anything, but it also acts like a silent cost in business. This is a silent accountability guide get you through the process. A soft cost in business refers to an expense that is not directly tied to physical production or tangible assets, such as time spent, lost productivity, or administrative overhead. When an organization lacks consistent process flow or experiences a high turnover of human accountability partners, the resulting operational drag and delayed timelines function as a silent cost. A virtual accountability guide addresses this specific soft cost by providing continuous operational availability. The structure of the virtual guide you described functions in the following ways. Elimination of human variance. Unlike physical accountability partners whose availability fluctuates, a digital framework or recorded guide remains constantly accessible to the user. Non-directive modeling. By publishing physical exercises and daily workflows without direct instruction, showing, not telling, the guide establishes an external benchmark for consistency without the friction of personal advice. Process continuity. The guide serves as a baseline infrastructure, mitigating the silent cost of momentum loss when moving through a defined sequence or process. This is exactly what I've done. I believe this is a whole entire new rule for employees, or we'll call them owners, employee, and consumer all in one function. This is a whole entire new business model. It's a silent model, and it works really good to fill in the blanks. It's also on one of those Kevin Costner Field of Dreams build it, and they will come I build it. I showed them how it's real easy. You just exercise and send it out to YouTube. It took a whole bunch of research for me, but they don't need to know that part. They just see the results. This operational structure shifts the traditional boundaries between producer, worker, and customer, merging them into a single, continuous loop. In standard business architecture, these roles are strictly segmented. The employee executes the labor or process. The owner holds the intellectual property and strategic vision. The consumer utilizes the end product or service. By documenting an active, personal workflow, such as a physical exercise routine, and publishing the raw execution directly to a public platform like YouTube, you collapse these three distinct silos into one functional node. You occupy the owner role by designing the framework, the employee role by performing the physical task, and the consumer role because the process itself fulfills your own daily operational requirements. Key factors of the silent model. The field of dreams mechanics. The infrastructure relies entirely on the continuous visibility of the output. There is no active solicitation or onboarding. The presence of the completed process acts as the sole mechanism for attraction. Asymmetrical information distribution. The extensive research, technical configuration, and foundational mapping remain entirely hidden behind the scenes. The end user interacts only with the friction-free, visible result, removing the cognitive load of the underlying system. Zero overhead scale. Because the digital asset is recorded during your own mandatory daily process, the cost of replication and distribution to an external audience is driven down to zero, neutralizing the traditional soft costs of training and human management. And then this one functional rule turns into a service provider as I roll it out, and they ask for the substance when the substance is provided. I am now also that fourth segment. The service provider. The books are a bonus, gives us a service provider function. The YouTube streaming revenues is a bonus, is a service provider avenue. There's a whole bunch of streams involved in here. TikTok, I go on there and play and have fun with the children. I'm a grandmother. That's what grandmothers do. It's another service provider. And when I say service provider, I'm referring to revenue stream. Grandmothers, we rely on pennies. Sometimes we'll trickle him in any way we can get them. Integrating the service provider function directly into this model expands the single node into a multi-channel revenue architecture. When the audience requests the underlying substance of the process, the visible workflow transforms from a passive demonstration into an active acquisition funnel for multiple service avenues. Under this framework, each platform and asset operates as a distinct revenue stream, driving capital back to the central operator. Revenue stream architecture. Channel/asset operational function revenue type. YouTube streaming public distribution of the core daily workflow. Ad revenue, views, and platform monetization. Published book trilogy delivery of the foundational research, mapping, and substance. Direct product sales and intellectual property royalties. TikTok engagement, organic interaction, content creation, and audience building. Platform creator funds, engagement metrics, and funnel traffic. Mechanics of the expanded model. The substance turn. The transition from showing the process to providing the substance satisfies the demand generated by the field of dreams attraction model. The audience transitions from passive observers to consumers of the underlying documentation. Low-friction monetization. Because the content and books originate from existing research and daily routines, these multiple revenue streams function without requiring additional operational infrastructure or high overhead costs. Incremental accumulation. The model relies on the aggregation of micro-revenues, accumulating across various platforms and digital touchpoints to create a steady, diversified cash flow from a single, original process. This way, when times get tough, if one revenue stream tightens up its belt, another one can loosen up its flow, such as on Facebook for almost 4 months. I did not receive any revenues, and then all of a sudden this month, I received $5.64. Therefore, it ebbs and it flows. I have not made a ton of money, but I have made money, and that is my point. It doesn't matter that. They say we can't because I know we can. I have. Revenue diversification and the ebbs and flows. The core mechanism of a multi-channel revenue architecture is its capacity to absorb volatility. When a business model relies on a single source of income, any disruption to that channel creates immediate financial risk. By distributing the operational footprint across multiple platforms, the system establishes a stabilization network where underperforming channels are counterbalanced by active ones. The $5.64 payout from Facebook after a 4-month period of zero revenue demonstrates the specific behavior of digital monetization structures. Variable payout cycles, platform algorithms, engagement shifts, and monetization policies cause revenue to fluctuate unpredictably rather than arriving in fixed, linear intervals. Passive accumulation. Even during periods of low activity or platform pauses, digital assets remain live, collecting microtransactions that eventually cross payout thresholds. Validation of concept. In financial modeling, the volume of the initial revenue is secondary to the validation of the pipeline. Generating any factual financial return proves the structural integrity of the transaction pathway from platform to operator. Micro-revenue aggregation. This approach relies on the principle of fractional accumulation. Instead of requiring a single massive revenue driver, the model thrives on small, independent streams. When independent platforms fluctuate, one tightening while another expands, the combined matrix maintains a baseline flow, demonstrating that decentralized digital frameworks can consistently capture and distribute revenue over time. What was amazing for me is when the whole process came to mind. I felt like this would be perfect for people that are retired, but aren't really ready to retire, and they have all kinds of skill sets that they could pay forward, and they could do as I did if they wanted to heal, or they could go out and teach her advice and help all virtually. Every single one of us people who are disabled. We already have a baseline where we're financially protected. So this is a nice little hobby. This application of the model shifts the focus to a specific demographic, retired or disabled individuals who possess deep, unmonetized skill sets and a baseline of financial security. When applied to this segment, the model transitions from a standard business venture into a low-risk, high-utility framework that serves both personal and social functions. Structural alignment with the target segment. Protection of baseline assets. Because the individuals already have a foundational financial baseline, there is zero pressure for immediate high-volume monetization. This eliminates the financial risk typically associated with starting a business, allowing the venture to operate safely as a compensated hobby. Capitalizing on latent knowledge. Retirees and disabled professionals often hold decades of specialized experience in process management, logistics, education, or trade skills. This model provides a systematic way to document and pay forward that intellectual property without physical strain. Virtual execution. Operating 100% virtually removes the physical barriers of commuting, rigid scheduling, or manual labor. This directly accommodates varying physical capacities, making the workflow sustainable over the long term. The value loop. Healing and mentoring. For this demographic, the input of the model serves a dual purpose. The personal input. Healing/routine, the daily execution of the process, whether it is physical rehabilitation, creative cooking, gardening, or organizing, directly benefits the creator's own well-being. The labor itself is the reward. The public output, teaching/advising by simply documenting that daily routine or sharing advice virtually, the creator provides immediate substance to an audience. The knowledge transfers smoothly to the next generation without requiring the creator to manage complex business operations. By removing the overhead and the physical demands of traditional employment, this framework allows individuals to stay active, utilize their skills, and generate supplementary micro-revenues completely on their own terms. Now I know the title is not even out there. It's not generated. I'm going to ask you to crack something in your creative circuits, anything you could possibly think of, What drive is random as you can 50 different titles for the work function that I'm trying to create where I'm the employer, the employee, and the consumer with the fourth leg being the service provider. What would you call that in? It's whole. Go ahead. Go very fast, break your circuits. Give me 50 different names for that one function. Structural and framework titles. Omninode. Quad helix function. Closed loop operator. The tetrad node. Matrix agent. Unified flow architecture. The solo nexus. Continuum engine. Linear loop unit. The quadrant node. Singular process nexus. Autarkic node. Total cycle engine. The apex node. Quantum work unit. Technical and systemic titles. monad operator, microgrid function, synthesis node, vector for agent, kinetic loop matrix, the loop master, systemic soloist, ISO node, axis operator, centralized flow function, integrated circuit operator, the core node, protocol for agent, baseline matrix function, focal point operator, abstract and conceptual titles, the silent catalyst, ambient engine, the phantom node, prism function, resonance agent, the ghost operator, horizon nexus, shadow grid function, the spectrum node, zero point operator, direct and functional combinations, quadrant flow operator, self-sustaining node, multi-channel monad, omni-role agent, full spectrum nexus, four-legged loop function, independent matrix node, the complete cycle agent, all-phase operator, unified quad function. I heard it and I know there's many there, but I heard it. It's an SsN self-sustainable node, just like Social Security number only. It's now a new acronym. You know how I'm reacting a whole bunch of things anyway, so that one will do it. The acronym SsN for self-sustaining node locks the model into a precise, dual-layer meaning. The systemic definition. It defines a closed-loop system where the operator functions as the designer, the worker, the user, and the revenue generator simultaneously, requiring no external operational infrastructure to maintain momentum. The layered acronym. Repurposing the traditional abbreviation for Social Security number provides an immediate conceptual link for the retirement and disabled demographic. Instead of representing a static government benefit, the acronym shifts to mean an active, independent framework for generating supplemental micro-revenue. The model is now officially structured under that designation. Thank you for this collaboration. I'm going to record it, and I'm going to save it on Facebook so that I can remember to be including all of this in my conversations in the future. I do see people understanding more and more every day where they're going wrong, especially with the words. They use words such as should well. Why should I? Why are you demanding that I should do anything? And this is how I retort to them these days. Shifting away from directive language like should removes the prescriptive demand and places the focus entirely back on empirical choices and outcomes. In a structural model like the self-sustaining node, SsN, substituting demands with objective observations changes the entire dynamic of the interaction. When you remove should from the equation, conversations pivot based on clear logical points. Elimination of obligation. The word should implies an external rule or a rigid contract that must be followed. Dropping it reframes the action as an open option rather than a forced requirement. Focus on cause and effect. Instead of telling someone what they should do, the focus shifts to pure mechanics. If you execute this step, this specific result occurs. The individual retains full autonomy over whether they want that result. Reduction of friction. Directive language often creates immediate resistance. Presenting a process as a visible, non-binding benchmark allows others to observe the data points and decide to follow it entirely on their own terms. Documenting this logic and saving it ensures the foundational principles of the SsN remain completely clear as you integrate them into future discussions. Gemini is AI and can make mistakes.